Have you ever felt, caught between what society expects, the relentless grind, and maybe your own deepest, most authentic desires?
Hmm.
Or maybe wondered how these huge historical events, like, say, the clash of empires, can really shape the most intimate parts of our lives,
Hmm.
even our relationships?
Yeah, those aren't just abstract questions we mull over, are they? They're actually right at the heart of, well, the human experience, and they are woven with just incredible detail and insight into, well, one of the greatest novels ever written.
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep, really deep, into the fascinating, just sprawling world of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace.
A big one.
Huge. And we're not just scratching the surface. We're
Yeah.
getting into the early parts of this epic, and we're using a stack of original source excerpts, but from a really particular perspective. This isn't just, a story. It's this meticulously crafted tapestry of human experience, a whole panoramic view of Russian society right on the brink of massive change.
And of course, the brutal, often just bewildering realities of the Napoleonic Wars.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from these sources. We want to give you, our listener, kind of a shortcut.
Right. A shortcut to understanding those complex social dynamics in 19th century Russia, the harsh realities of war that just shatter those youthful illusions, and the really profound personal journeys that define this whole epic.
Yeah, we'll uncover some surprising facts, maybe, and timeless observations about human nature that honestly still hit home today.
They really do.
And what I found really interesting about this deep dive is our source material.
Hmm.
We're working directly from an early Portuguese translation. What do you think that gives us? Like, what specific advantage or unique window does that offer into Tolstoy's original flavor? Maybe details overlooked in standard English versions.
That's a great point. Using this early Portuguese translation, Garriott Pez, it offers a really fascinating lens. Translations are always interpretations, right? And an earlier one, well, sometimes it can preserve certain nuances, maybe stylistic choices, that later translations might kind of smooth over or, update for a modern ear. It gives us a feel for how the text was received, how it was understood in a totally different cultural, different linguistic context.
Interested.
It might highlight certain things, maybe a character's inner thought, a description of society, some military detail with a slightly different emphasis. It's almost like looking at a familiar painting, but through like a different colored glass. Reveals new textures.
I like that analogy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's unpack this. Where do we start? The glittering, often kind of deceptive world of high society.
Let's do it. The salons.
Okay, so our journey kicks off in this labyrinth of Russian high society, high stakes, opulent salons,
Yeah.
where reputations are made, alliances forged, social standing is just everything.
Absolutely everything.
And the very first scene we hit, right from our sources, is Anna Pavlovna Scherer's soiree. And immediately, you just get smacked with this sense of artifice, don't you?
Oh, totally.
Her social function, the source says, was enthusiasm. Can you imagine? Enthusiasm as your job description, even when it clearly wasn't, natural.
It speaks volumes, right? The source describes her smile as constrained. It didn't quite suit her fatigued features.
Yeah.
And it even suggests the smile revealed a peccadillo, like a little flaw or sin that she neither wanted nor could nor even judged useful to correct. It's not just about her. It's such a timeless point about how we perform roles, sacrificing genuine feeling for what we think society wants. That peccadillo almost hints at these tiny, uncomfortable compromises she's constantly making, like a little crack in a perfect facade.
It makes you wonder, where do we put on that constrained smile in our own lives?
Exactly.
And her guests, well, we see it so clearly with Pierre Bezikov, they also struggle a lot with these intricate social rules. Pierre, bless him, he's the classic outsider.
Oh, completely.
Genuinely kind, but just zero social graces.
Yeah.
He commits what the source calls a second impoliteness. First, he walks away from someone before they finish speaking big no-no. And then he detains someone who clearly needs to leave. All because he's trying to make this, super intellectual, maybe impractical argument about Abbot Morio's plan for universal peace.
Right, and Abbot Morio, just for context, he was a real historical figure, proposed this plan for perpetual peace in Europe. Very lofty, idealistic, probably pretty unrealistic for the time.
Yeah.
So Pierre, in all his earnestness, brings this huge abstract idea into this light, frothy social gathering, completely missing the cues. Anna Pavlovna just smiles and is like, we'll talk about that later, as she, quote, frees herself from this young man without social habits.
Uh-huh. It paints such a picture not just of Pierre's awkwardness, but of the unwritten rules, right?
Mm.
Where real intellectual passion is just kind of out of place.
So true. These salons were less about deep talks and more about keeping up appearances. The source even says the soiree reaches its apotheosis, its peak, with guests splitting into distinct groups, almost like choreographed little clusters.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere is described with this amazing image, the humming of scattered spindles. It suggests this constant underlying social churn, this restless buzz of conversations and connections. What does that metaphor say to you?
Humming of scattered spindles.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It captures both the constant activity and maybe the lack of real connection. Spindles are individual, working, but scattered suggests they're not really aligned. Everyone's pursuing their own thread.
Exactly. It's not about deep bonding. It's about movement, superficial engagement, and often, a calculated pursuit of individual agendas within this whole complex social machine. Everyone's weaving their own story, looking for their own advantage, even if it looks like harmony on the surface.
A machine. Yeah, and often that machine is geared towards one main goal, getting advantageous marriage alliances. We see this so clearly with characters like Anatole Kuragin.
Oh, Anatole.
His wild spending is a huge worry for his father, Prince Vasily. The prince complains Anatole costs him a mind-blowing 40,000 rubles a year, and he's constantly stressed about his son's future, a future that pretty much depends on marrying rich.
And then you have Pierre, whose sudden kind of scandalous inheritance just blows up the social order.
Right.
And he becomes the prime target for Prince Vasily's schemes. Count Bezukov dies, it's scandalous, and Pierre, this illegitimate son nobody paid attention to, suddenly inherits this massive fortune.
Total game changer.
Immediately, Prince Vasily is all over him. Aggressive moves, trying to control Pierre, even stirring up controversy about the will, trying to get his hands on that money. It just shows how fast social standing flips when big money's involved.
And how ruthless people in power can get. It's stark. Relationships become transactions.
Absolutely. And central to Vasily's whole plan is his daughter, Helena Kuragina, described as impeccably beautiful when she walks in.
Yeah, the sources get specific. Her white ball gown, guarnecido de hera y musgo, that's adorned with ivy and moss. Such a cool detail from the Portuguese text.
Intriguing, yeah.
And the splendor of her white shoulders, a very pronounced décolleté, which was the style then. She smiles at everyone as if giving each the right to admire her beauty. She literally uses her looks and charm to navigate society. Later, she gets this rep as charming and spiritual, captivating even witty guys like Bilibine. Is she just a pawn for her dad, or does she have more agency using her beauty strategically?
That's a really good question. I mean, yes, she's definitely a tool in her father's game, but the way she uses her beauty, it suggests she's very aware of its power. She chooses to present herself as something to be admired, almost demanding appreciation.
Yeah.
She's not passive. She's actively leveraging her main asset in this social marketplace. And that later reputation, charming and spiritual, implies she learns to blend the physical appeal with a sharp social intelligence. Makes her pretty formidable in her own right, not just a pawn. Beauty is her currency, and she's smart about investing it.
A calculated use of assets, definitely. Which leads right into Pierre's marriage to Helena. It's portrayed as so swift, almost brutally orchestrated, mostly by Prince Vasily and Anna Pavlovna.
Right.
But despite all the social pressure, the seemingly perfect match, Pierre feels this deep internal conflict, even revulsion. He thinks it's something dirty, unnatural, dishonest. The source notes his forced smile during their silent moments at dinner. It's just flawed from the start, driven entirely by external forces, not real affection.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we see similar unions, maybe less formal, but still driven by convenience, status, family pressure, rather than, true connection, even today?
It's such a powerful point about timeless pressures. Pierre's inner turmoil here is like a microcosm of that larger theme. The individual struggling against what society demands. His revulsion is this gut rejection of the fakeness, the dishonesty he's forced into.
It's not just a bad marriage, it's a betrayal of his own self. And yeah, it's not unique to 19th century Russia. Think about marriages of convenience or ambition that still happen. It's maybe in different form.
It really is heartbreaking seeing Pierre struggle. But like you said, it echoes everywhere. We also see Boris Drubetskoy's ambition, fueled by his mother's relentless, almost embarrassing efforts to get him promoted, get him placed in society.
She even endures humiliations for him.
Right. And Boris, in turn, makes these incredibly calculated social moves, securing protection, seeking connections, like with Countess Bezukov after Pierre inherits. It's this ruthless game of getting ahead, where dignity often gets sidelined for strategy. What does Boris's path tell us about social climbing, then?
Boris is like a masterclass in pragmatic social climbing. Unlike Pierre, he gets the rules and plays them perfectly. His mother sacrificing her dignity, that shows the depth of family sacrifice for status. And Boris himself, well, he's not malicious, but he has none of Pierre's awkward idealism.
No, not at all.
He embodies that cool, calculating rationality, sees society as a ladder. He's networking, aligning himself strategically, always looking for the next rung up. It's such a stark contrast to Pierre's innocence, and it reveals a more cynical but maybe more effective path to success in that world.
So ambition drives people like Boris to game this system. But this drive, it often costs something, especially in the family sphere. Family bonds often bear the brunt of these pressures, like Prince Andrei Bolkonsky. His marital unhappiness is just palpable, even early on. He gives Pierre this strong, almost desperate advice: don't marry, never marry, unless you're convinced you've done everything you could.
Wow.
He says his wife, Lise, is an excellent lady, but he wishes he'd never married. Feels totally trapped by salons, gossip, balls, vanity, trivialities. It's such a counterpoint to those forced marriages. Even a good, respectable marriage can feel like a prison.
It's a devastating picture of disillusionment. Andre, this intelligent, ambitious guy, feels suffocated by the superficiality of his home life, the empty social rituals. His complaint isn't really about his wife, but the institution, the lack of real connection he finds.
Yeah.
He's yearning for something deeper, beyond the trivialities. His advice to Pierre isn't just personal, it's a warning about conforming without real inner conviction. Makes you wonder how many people, then and now, feel trapped by what a good marriage should be, instead of what it feels like.
And the Bolkonsky family dynamics themselves are fascinating, if a bit chilling. The old Prince Bolkonsky, Andrei's father, has this rigid, unbending routine, almost military.
Very strict.
He's demanding, severe, irritated with his daughter, Princess Maria, and Maria just endures it with quiet suffering and deep devotion, despite his awful temper, especially his acerbic religious jokes aimed at her.
Oh.
Yet the source also notes his surprising physical vigor in old age, makes him seem even more formidable, intimidating. It's a household built on discipline, duty, but it clearly takes a huge emotional toll.
That family portrait tells you so much about power dynamics in aristocratic homes back then. Old Prince Bolkonsky is the old world, stern, intellectual, disciplined, rooted in tradition. Maria's quiet suffering highlights what was expected of women, especially unmarried daughters cater to dad's every whim. Her inner world is all religious piety, quiet sacrifice, directly opposed to her father's rational, almost cynical view. His acerbic religious jokes, aimed at her, that's particularly cruel, reveals a subtle emotional cruelty under the intellectual surface. It's a relationship built on obligation, not affection. Speaks volumes about family loyalty and hierarchy burdens.
Then, in total contrast, you have the Rostov family. They embody this different kind of warmth, this vibrant chaos, though they also have serious money problems.
Big contrast, yeah.
Their house is joyful, boisterous, almost gloriously messy. Natasha's spontaneous, explosive, crystal-clear laughter kind of sums it up. They count as doting on her kid.
Yeah.
Underneath all that lively generosity, deep financial worries, Nikolai's gambling debts alone are 43,000 rubles.
Astronomical.
Leads to the Count's despair, panic. Yet, even when they're broke, their generosity shines through. Like preparing a sumptuous dinner for General Bagration, a war hero, costing thousands of rubles. This duality, warmth and richness versus financial stress, highlights their complex social spot and their basic nature. So different from the calculating Kuragins or the rigid Bolkonskys.
Absolutely. The Rostovs represent different values: heart over head, generosity over calculation, emotion over propriety. Natasha's laughter is practically a character itself, embodying their life force.
Yeah.
Their money troubles are a direct result of their generous, often impractical nature, a foil to the cold, strategic wealth building of others. Nikolai's debt, the Count's despair, it shows how outside pressures hit even the warmest families. But hosting that huge dinner for Bagration, despite being broke, that's just who they are. They prioritize hospitality, honor, even when it costs them dearly. It really makes you ask, which family is truly richer in human value?
Good question. So we've seen society pushing, pulling, arranging lives, marriages, families coping, often at great personal cost. But beyond the salons and estates, there's this other huge force shaping lives: war.
The crucible of war. Yeah, let's shift there.
Okay, shifting gears completely now. From the drawing room's hushed elegance to the battlefield's thunderous chaos, a transition that defines so much of war and peace. The soldier's life, as we see it early on, is such a stark contrast to all that social maneuvering. Nikolai Rostov, for instance. He's just brimming with this almost naive romantic enthusiasm.
Totally idealistic.
He dismisses friendship as why he joined the army, saying, "Not friendship, I have the vocation of a soldier." He's excited for battle, glory, even dreams of dying before the emperor. This is the romantic ideal of war, right? What does that kind of youthful idealism tell us about how war is seen versus how it actually is?
It's that powerful, often dangerous illusion of glory before you hit the grim reality. Nikolai embodies that classic youthful eagerness for heroism, fed by stories of valor, imperial greatness. He sees war as a stage for personal glory, a way to prove himself.
Yeah.
This initial enthusiasm is so crucial because it sets up the huge gap between expectation and experience that so many characters, including Nikolai, will face later. It's a timeless human thing, romanticizing conflict, imagining it as noble and clean instead of the brutal, chaotic, often meaningless thing it really is.
It certainly is. And the sources show the paradox of military life itself. The oppressive transformation of a regiment from a disorderly mass into this compact mass of 2,000 men, every detail perfect, gleaming with cleanliness.
Right, the discipline.
Speaks to the tough discipline needed to forge an army. Yet, almost right away, we hear about moments of deep chaos and confusion on the march. Reminds us that order is fragile, always close to breaking down in the field. How does Tolstoy use that contrast? What's he saying about military power?
It's a masterstroke, showing that fundamental tension in military structures. On one hand, you have this almost aesthetic beauty of precision, shiny uniforms, synchronized moves, individuals becoming this unified machine. It symbolizes control, order, the illusion of being unbeatable.
Yeah.
But immediately, that's undercut by the reality of chaos on the march, the unpredictability of just moving around, logistics. It highlights that even the most disciplined machine is vulnerable to human error, the environment, the sheer unpredictability of big operations. Appearances of order can be kept up, but underlying disorder is always just a breath away, especially in harsh campaign conditions.
And then there's Kutuzov, the commander-in-chief. He emerges as this figure of amazing pragmatism amidst the growing crisis.
Kutuzov, yeah.
His calm, insightful way of being is striking when he gets news of General Mack's massive defeat at Ulm. It was a huge blunder by the Austrian general, left the Russians in a really bad spot. Kutuzov immediately sees how critical things are.
He does.
He strategically uses an armistice, a truce, to buy crucial time for Bagration's detachment to retreat and regroup. His focus is purely on practicality, not grand plans. He even famously tells his generals just to sleep well before a battle. It's very grounded, almost fatherly, compared to Rostov's eagerness or other commanders' abstract strategies. What does Kutuzov represent as a leader?
Kutuzov represents this deep wisdom, a real contrast to the often arrogant, theoretical European generals. He gets the psychological toll of war, not just the strategy. His calm when hearing about Mack's defeat isn't apathy, it's a deep grasp of conflict's realities.
Right.
He prioritizes saving his men, securing a strategic edge over chasing some grand, maybe impossible victory. His advice to sleep well, it's not dismissive. It acknowledges that morale, rest, human endurance are just as vital as any battle plan. He's less about brilliant tactics, more about the art of survival, knowing when to wait, retreat, conserve strength. He embodies a uniquely Russian leadership style, rooted in patience and understanding the human element.
This pragmatism gets tested hard in actual battle, especially the Schungraben. The chaotic but ultimately effective defense by Captain Tushin's artillery battery. That's a key moment, isn't it?
Hugely important.
Tushin himself is this philosophical, almost dreamy character. Oddly enjoys the terrible roar of battle, feels like a powerful giant, even develops this imaginative relationship with his cannons, giving them pet names.
Yeah, Mastodon and the little one.
Right. Yet despite his incredible bravery, his vital contribution, he's later humiliated before General Bagration because his guns were abandoned during the retreat. It highlights this painful gap between individual heroism and rigid military rules, where the outcome can overshadow the effort.
It's one of the most poignant parts early on. Tushin is this unassuming, almost childlike guy who transforms into this incredibly effective, almost mythical fighter under fire. His philosophical take on the chaos, finding beauty in the terrible roar, shows this extraordinary human ability to adapt, even find meaning in extreme situations. Naming his cannons is such a beautiful touch, humanizing the tools of war, showing his emotional connection to his duty. But his humiliation afterwards, even though he saved the day, it exposes the rigid, often unfeeling nature of military hierarchy. The rules demand accountability, even when bravery says otherwise.
Yeah.
It's a powerful comment on how merit and valor can get ignored by bureaucratic rule following.
The disillusionment just keeps coming, maybe even more devastatingly with Prince Andrei at Austerlitz, the battle that was supposed to be his moment of glory.
Oh, gosh, his big chance.
His initial eagerness for military glory, dreaming of a brilliant future, is just brutally shattered. He suffers horrific shock, physical pain after being badly wounded. His profound disillusionment comes out when he compares Bonaparte, the guy he idolized, to a small Napoleon who seemed insignificant on the battlefield, the very man he wanted to be like.
Crushing.
The scene where Napoleon surveys the wounded, including Andrei, starkly highlights that chilling contrast between war's grandiosity and the agonizing individual suffering it causes.
It's a crushing, almost spiritual realization for Andrei. Austerlitz is the turning point. His youthful idealism about glory just completely shatters. He'd imagined himself a hero, a strategic genius, standing with his idol, Bonaparte. But on the ground, wounded, helpless, the grandness of war just evaporates.
Yeah.
Napoleon, from Andrei's view, shrinks, becomes insignificant, just another human, not the superhuman figure he imagined. That scene, Napoleon riding among the dying, is pivotal. It strips away the heroism, reveals the raw, random brutality. It forces Andrei to face the true cost of imperial ambition, not in grand strategy, but in the agony of individual bodies on a frozen field. His physical pain is matched by a deep psychological wound, leaving him deeply cynical about chasing glory.
And Rostov's baptism of fire is just as vivid, brutally honest. His initial terror, "I'm a coward," his instinct to run is portrayed with such painful authenticity.
You feel it.
The sources contrast the distant, peaceful Danube River with the immediate groans, pain, terror, confusion of battle, almost like nature's beauty is mocking the horror humans unleash. His desperate search for Kutuzov, or the emperor amid the disorganized troops, it ends with the crushing realization the battle was lost. That his idealized leaders aren't infallible and he himself is just a terrified kid caught in a storm.
It's a primal scream of fear, disorientation. Nikolai's initial romanticism is just obliterated by the sensory overload of battle. That inner thought, "I'm a coward." It's a universal human reaction to overwhelming danger, strips away all pretense.
Totally.
Juxtaposing the calm Danube with the groans, pain, terror emphasizes how unnatural war is, how it violates the natural order. His desperate search for an authority figure, for the emperor he idolized, shows his childlike reliance on outside guidance, only to find the structures he believed in are also falling apart. It's a brutal, rapid education in conflict's true nature, where individual terror and collective chaos rule.
The military hierarchy itself also gives us plenty to examine, different archetypes within the system. Take Berg, for instance. His calculated ambition is almost comical.
Oh, Berg.
Constantly boasts about his career, his wounds, decorations, displays this naive and graceful egoism. He's utterly convinced his actions are exemplary, even when others are clearly rolling their eyes. He's a master of self-promotion, playing the system for personal gain. What does Berg represent? What kind of people thrive, or at least survive, in that structure?
Berg is fascinating, almost farcical. He represents the self-serving opportunist, the person who knows how to play the system, not necessarily through real bravery or smarts, but through relentless self-promotion and sticking to superficial rules. His naive and graceful egoism is key. He genuinely believes his own hype.
Yeah, that makes him irritating but effective.
Exactly. He's the guy who always seems to land on his feet because he's totally focused on his own advancement and presenting a perfect image. He thrives because he conforms to what the military wants to see, not what's genuinely effective. He's careerism over character personified.
His actions are such a stark contrast to Denisov, who faces a real dilemma that tests his character. Denisov, known for his intemperance, his gambling losses.
It's a bit rough around the edges.
Right. He takes food for his hungry soldiers, an act that's shockingly considered theft and leads to a serious inquiry. It highlights the harsh realities of military discipline, where basic human needs can be criminalized just to maintain order.
It's crazy.
Denisov's fierce pride, refusing to apologize for feeding his men, really underscores this conflict between formal rules and genuine compassion. He puts his men's well-being over his own career.
Denisov is the embodiment of the soldier's heart. Pragmatic, deeply loyal to his men, even if it costs him. His intemperance, gambling, it humanizes him. He's flawed, but ultimately decent. The act of taking food, called theft, perfectly captures that moral tightrope commanders walk. Is it more important to follow the letter of the law, or make sure your men are fed and can fight? Denisov's refusal to apologize is this powerful statement of integrity, prioritizing his soldiers' welfare over his career. He gets that real leadership sometimes means breaking rules for a higher, immediate human need. It's a profound comment on rigid military bureaucracy and the ethical dilemmas baked into it.
So, we've navigated high society's treacherous waters, witnessed war's brutal realities. But what happens to the individual souls caught in this huge tapestry? Many embark on these profound inner quests for meaning, identity, struggling to square their ideals with the often disappointing realities they face.
The journey's within. Yeah, let's go there.
And maybe no one embodies this search for meaning more deeply than Pierre Bezukhov.
Yeah.
After that scandalous duel with Dolokhov, sparked by realizing his wife Helena's infidelity, Pierre just plunges into this profound personal crisis.
Total meltdown.
He's filled with horror at his own actions, the moral decay all around him. His life, especially his marriage, starts to feel profoundly horrifying, utterly empty of authenticity or joy. This leads him to decide to separate from Helena and basically flee to St. Petersburg, a desperate attempt to escape a life he finds unbearable. What's the significance of this post-duel crisis for him?
This crisis is the absolute catalyst for Pierre's transformation. Before this, he was mostly passive, right? Well-intentioned, maybe, but swept along by events and his own naivete. The duel forces him to confront the destructive results of his choices, the moral vacuum in his marriage, and the society he's in. His horror isn't just at the duel, but realizing the sheer emptiness of his existence. It's a profound wake-up call. St. Petersburg becomes a symbolic escape, a desperate hunt for a new foundation for his life, free from the superficiality and moral compromises that defined his past. It's the breaking point that forces him to really start his philosophical quest.
And this existential void leads him straight to Freemasonry. He meets this old Freemason traveler who offers a completely different view on existence, centered on spiritual truth.
A chance encounter.
The traveler talks about God being here. He is in me. He is in my words. He's in you. And suggests true happiness comes from knowing God, living by divine will. Pierre, even though the stranger is kind of cold, detached almost, he feels this immediate heartfelt belief. It resonates deeply with him. Why does this encounter grab Pierre so much, given his struggles?
It's the promise of genuine meaning, a direct antidote to the superficiality and corruption he just ran from. The traveler's words offer this universal, internal God, totally different from the external, performative rituals of high society. Pierre is starving for truth, for something real. This spiritual message offers a profound sense of purpose, connection that was completely missing from his life. The fact he grabs onto it so fast, despite the stranger's coldness, just shows how deep his spiritual hunger is. It's not about social climbing or outside approval. It's about an inner journey, a path to self-knowledge and divine connection that feels fundamentally different. He's found a glimmer of hope for an authentic life.
His initiation into Freemasonry is described with such striking detail. Blindfolded, sword at his chest, these allegorical questions testing his sincerity.
Very ritualistic.
Yet, despite the drama, the underlying fear, Pierre feels this overwhelming joy and emotional release. Tears fill his eyes. It speaks volumes about his deep yearning for purpose, connection beyond the shallow world he knew. He finds comfort, belonging in this secret society, at least at first. What's the power of that kind of ritual for someone like Pierre?
The rituals are designed to strip away the ego, right? Break you down before rebuilding you, according to Masonic principles. For Pierre, who's been adrift, morally conflicted, this intense, almost theatrical process provides this profound catharsis.
Yeah.
The blindfold symbolizes his previous ignorance. The sword at his chest represents the seriousness of his commitment, confronting mortality. His emotional release isn't just about joining a club, it's a spiritual rebirth. A feeling of being cleansed, accepted into a brotherhood dedicated to higher ideals. It fills the void left by his failed marriage, his disillusionment with society, offers a structure, a moral compass he desperately needed. It's the experience of authentic transformation he was searching for.
But inevitably, perhaps, the spiritual high is followed by disillusionment with the actual practice of Freemasonry.
It's a reality check.
Pierre finds out many St. Petersburg Masons join for superficial reasons, mostly to network with wealthy and powerful brothers, mirroring the exact social climbing he wanted to escape. He realizes the Masonry he saw before his eyes ceased to exist according to its usual law, falling way short of its noble ideals. He tries to apply Masonic principles, does charitable stuff on his estates, tries to free serfs, but he ultimately fails to see the underlying misery, the manipulation around him. highlights the gap between his good intentions and actually getting things done effectively. That's a recurring theme for him, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This disillusionment is a crucial part of Pierre's journey. It reflects that universal challenge, translating lofty ideals into practical reality. He's seeking purity, real brotherhood, but finds the same old social climbing, self-interest, human flaws within the very institution that promised enlightenment. His attempts at philanthropy, like freeing serfs, are well-meaning but naive. He lacks the practical know-how, maybe the ruthlessness, to navigate the entrenched systems of power and poverty. It exposes the gap between his abstract ideals and the messy, complicated reality of human society. He realizes just knowing the truth isn't enough. Acting on it effectively needs a different kind of wisdom, one he hasn't found yet. It's a painful lesson about institutions decaying, human imperfection persisting, even in supposedly enlightened circles.
This leads to deep internal conflict for Pierre. He struggles massively to reconcile his ideals with the disappointing reality he finds, both in Freemasonry and society generally. He feels unable to fight the evil and lies of humans. Leads to this profound sense that nothing is despicable, nothing is important, everything is indifferent when he faces the terrible life. It's a descent into existential despair, feeling his earnest search for meaning is futile in a world so messed up. That kind of spiritual crisis, questioning the value of everything, feels so relatable even now.
It is the universal experience of existential angst, isn't it? Pierre's initial hope, his desperate grab at Freemasonry, makes his later despair even sharper. He sees the pervasive evil and lies, feels powerless against them, leading to this kind of moral paralysis. The idea that nothing is despicable, nothing is important, everything is indifferent, classic symptom of spiritual emptiness, a total loss of meaning.
Yeah.
He's grappling with the sheer weight of human imperfection, the seemingly impossible obstacles to genuine good. It's a dark night of the soul, a necessary step maybe in his journey toward a more nuanced understanding of life, where meaning isn't found in perfect institutions, but perhaps in more subtle, resilient ways.
Prince Andrei's quest for purpose is just as compelling, especially after that devastating transformative experience at Austerlitz.
Right, his turning point too.
He retreats from the battlefield with this deep sadness and heaviness of soul, finds everything abnormal, so different from what he had expected. His mind keeps wrestling with the seeming meaninglessness of human actions, asking himself, what people are these? What are they doing here? What do they want? When will all this end?
He's searching for answers that military glory didn't give him, a new philosophy to replace the one shattered on the battlefield.
This is Andrei's personal wilderness. That sadness and heaviness of soul, it reflects profound moral, spiritual exhaustion. Austerlitz didn't just wound his body, it wounded his whole worldview. His questions, what people are these? What are they doing here? They challenge the very idea of purpose in human life. He sees the futility, the chaos, the individual suffering, and he's left with this crushing sense of meaninglessness. He saw glory, found only insignificance. This retreat is essential for him to reevaluate everything. Search for a new foundation for his life outside those grand external pursuits of ambition. He's looking inward, maybe for the first time, for answers the world of men failed to provide. His spiritual awakening is beautifully symbolized by that old oak tree, one of the most memorable images in the whole novel.
The oak tree, yes.
Initially, he sees it as symbolizing his own stagnant, lifeless existence, barren, unyielding. But later, after a transformative encounter, he sees its new shoots, its greenness, mirroring his own rekindled hope. And this profound change is directly linked to Natasha's impact.
Right.
He overhears her joyful whispers from her window, such a stark contrast to his own lifeless existence. And it sparks this profound realization that life could still hold love and happiness. It's this moment of pure, unexpected joy that reawakens his spirit, almost a literal blooming inside him.
The oak tree is classic Tolstoy, symbolizing nature's resilience, its power to renew. Initially, yeah, it perfectly mirrors Andrei's cynicism, his spiritual death. He projects his despair onto its bare branches. But after encountering Natasha's vibrant, pure joy, her whispers from the window, full of life and hope, it's like her energy breathes life back into him. He sees the greenness, the new shoots, not just as nature, but reflecting his own soul's ability to regenerate. Natasha doesn't preach or give solutions. Her sheer vitality acts like this powerful, unconscious force that shatters his gloom, reminds him of the simple, profound beauty of being alive, capable of love. It's a turning point from despair to new possibilities.
This reawakening leads him into political reforms. He finds a renewed sense of purpose working with Bransky on the new military laws. Bransky was a key figure in Tsar Alexander's first government, a brilliant but controversial reformer.
Right, a big deal at the time.
And Andrei initially feels this passionate exultation, very similar to that he once harbored for Bonaparte, for Speransky's intellect.
Yeah.
His logic shows Andrei's pattern, right? Idealizing figures he sees as agents of change, whether military or political.
He does seem drawn to that type.
But, just like with the military, Andrei later gets disillusioned. Sees the superficiality of their reformist circle, Speransky's unnatural mannerisms, the pursuit of intellectual, political reform like military glory, ultimately fails to give him the deep meaning he's really searching for.
It's another cycle for Andrei, isn't it? Idealization, then disillusionment. He projects onto Speransky the same things he admired in Bonaparte. Sharp intellect, ability for big change, almost superhuman logic. He thinks through rational reform he can bring order, purpose to society, mirroring his earlier desire to bring order to the battlefield. But he soon finds out that even the world of political reform is full of artifice, superficiality, lacks genuine human warmth. Speransky's unnatural mannerisms hint at this cold, detached intellect. Brilliant, maybe, but missing the human element Andrei truly craves. He learns external pursuits, military or political, can't fill an internal void. True meaning has to come from within or from real human connection.
And then there's his love for Natasha. That becomes another central pillar in his search for meaning. Their engagement hits major roadblocks, especially the old Prince Bolkonsky's harsh condition, a one-year separation.
Tough condition.
Despite that, the source describes this poetic quietness between them, sharing thoughts without words, and Natasha's touching acceptance of his son not living with them right away. It's this tender, quiet understanding that promises a different kind of happiness, not tied to grand social roles or political ambition, but to a deep emotional bond. What does this engagement period show about their connection?
It reveals this level of intimacy, understanding that goes beyond words. A true meeting of souls. That poetic quietness suggests a deep, intuitive connection, rare in the superficial world they live in. Natasha's quick acceptance about his son, Nikolai, shows her maturity, selflessness, putting Andrei's complex family situation first.
Yeah, it's impressive.
This isn't impulsive young love. It's a more profound, quiet commitment. One that promises real happiness rooted in mutual respect, understanding something Andrei's never really had before. It's a fragile, beautiful promise of future contentment, a stark contrast to the disillusionments he's faced.
Finally, let's turn to Natasha's coming of age, a journey marked by youthful energy, breathtaking innocence, and ultimately, some painful lessons.
Natasha's journey.
Her initial innocence, her joy, it's just palpable. She sings beautifully the "Oh mio crudele affetto" aria has that crystal clear laughter and this incredible ability to charm everyone. Even her usually reserved father, who, to her delight, dances an English dance just for her. She's this spontaneous, vibrant force of nature, unbridled youth.
Natasha, in these early parts, she's pure, unfiltered life. Her singing isn't just performing, it's her soul pouring out. Her crystal clear laughter is infectious, breaks through any stuffy room's decorum. She lives totally in the moment, driven by emotion, intuition, not social calculation. That scene with her father dancing for her is incredibly touching. Shows her power to draw genuine affection, even from dignified characters. She represents this kind of untamed authenticity that's both enchanting and, as we'll see, really vulnerable in a world thriving on fakeness and manipulation. She's a force of nature society doesn't quite know how to handle.
Her first grand ball is a huge milestone, a moment of massive anxiety, anticipation. She's nervous beforehand. Initially sad she's not asked for the first waltz.
Oh, yeah.
But Pierre, in this moment of unexpected kindness, social grace even, plays a key role. Encourages Andrei to dance with her, and Andrei in turn sees her unique, refreshing charm. Such a contrast to the contrived elegance of Petersburg salons. It's a magical moment, sets the stage for their connection, doesn't it?
It's the moment their paths really cross, thanks to Pierre's unlikely matchmaking. Natasha's anxiety is so relatable. The first ball is symbolic entry into adult society, a test. Her sadness at not being picked for the first waltz is just a deeply human moment of youthful insecurity. Pierre, despite his own social awkwardness, sees Andrei needs reawakening and Natasha's radiant purity, and he brings them together. Andrei, tired of artificiality, is instantly captivated by her natural grace, vibrancy. She isn't performing, she's just being herself. And that authenticity is exactly what Andrei has been searching for. It's a moment of unforced connection that feels so genuine amidst all those forced smiles we talked about earlier.
But this innocence makes her tragically vulnerable to the infatuation, the betrayal that follows. Despite being engaged to Andrei, she gets increasingly infatuated with Anatole Kuragin at the opera.
Anatole again. Ugh.
Anatole's predatory charm just skillfully exploits Natasha's innocent susceptibility, her youthful craving for intense emotion. Sonia, her cousin, realizes with distress Natasha's terrible project to elope. Maria Dmitrievna, that formidable, no-nonsense older woman, intervenes furiously, calling Natasha miserable, shameless.
Ouch, tough love.
And Pierre, showing this protective side we rarely see, confronts Anatole and stops the disastrous elopement. This deeply painful experience leads to Natasha's illness, her despair. She feels the purity of her love for Andrei was gone forever. Her journey just beautifully captures that loss of innocence, the harsh reality of emotional consequences.
This is the painful, inevitable clash. Natasha's innocent heart versus the cynical, predatory side of society. Anatole Kuragin, unlike Pierre or Andrei, is pure surface charm, a manipulator preying on emotional vulnerability. Natasha, in her naive longing for grand passion, mistakes his calculated seduction for real love.
Yeah.
Sonia's distress is the voice of reason, seeing the destructive path. Maria Dmitrievna's fury, while harsh, comes from genuinely wanting to protect Natasha from ruin in a society that would shun her for such a scandal. And Pierre's intervention, that's a crucial moment for his character. He steps out of his passive despair to act decisively, driven by this protective love for Natasha. Her subsequent illness, believing her purity of love for Andrei, was gone forever. It highlights the deep emotional scar this leaves. It's not just a plot point. It's a powerful commentary on how fragile youthful ideals are when hit by real malice, and how betrayal can redefine your sense of self, your capacity for love. She comes out of this deeply wounded, but also, importantly, with a greater understanding of the world's complexities.
Wow, what a winding, profound path these characters walk, isn't it? We've seen how societal pressures, wealth, status, marriage can lead to arranged unions, huge personal sacrifices, often leaving people like Pierre deeply disillusioned, but maybe also open to new truths.
And we've witnessed how the grand stage of war, with its parades and battles, is ultimately made of individual acts of heroism, cowardice, immense suffering, forcing characters like Andrei and Rostov to confront brutal realities that shatter their youthful illusions, leading them to question what glory even means.
Then we follow the deeply personal, often agonizing journeys of individuals like Pierre and Andrei as they wrestled with fundamental existential questions, seeking meaning and identity in a world that often disappointed their highest ideals. Natasha's journey reminds us how innocence can be both captivating and vulnerable, learning painful lessons about love and betrayal that ultimately forge a stronger, maybe more complex, understanding of herself and the world.
So what does it mean then to find happiness or purpose in a world where these grand narratives of empire and intimate personal tragedies are constantly intertwining? And how much of our own lives are shaped by society's unspoken rules, history's relentless currents, and the choices we make when faced with our deepest desires? Or, our most profound disappointments.
This deep dive into Tolstoy's world really shows us that the human experience, with all its complexities, joys, sorrows, it truly is timeless. We encourage you to reflect on these journeys and, hey, maybe even revisit the source material yourself.
Subscribe, Timeless Tales Podcast. Your stories, your time.